Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lieutenant Colonel Barb Pasternak and will be your Master of Ceremonies for this honored event. Welcome to Colonel Sandra L. Best's promotion to the rank of Brigadier General. Before we begin the formal portion of today's program, I would like to recognize and thank the Women's Club of Minneapolis for hosting us today on this special occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce and invite forward Miss Dawn Stebbing of the Women's Club of Minneapolis to say a few words.
Hello and welcome to the Women's Club. My name is Dawn Stebbing and I am a member of the club, and we are honored to host this historic event, the promotion of the first female general in the Minnesota National Guard. I am briefly going to fill you in a little bit of history of the Women's Club and how it ties in to the military. The Women's Club was founded in 1907 by 39 women. This place that you're in, sitting right now, was built in 1928 and it's still operating today, as you can see. The Women's Club has a long storied history of community impact. In the early 1900s, the club was responsible for installing plumbing systems in the city's public schools. In 1917, before America entered World War I, the members of the club were involved in the war effort already, shipping 50,000 articles, sheets, blankets, underwear, to Paris through the American Fund for the French Wounded. When America entered the war in 1917, hospital relief work was carried on at the club 3 days a week, and the Red Cross took over much of the space, replacing the French Relief Committee. In just 1 week, in February of 1917, 1,100 workers, club members, and friends turned out 57,199 articles, mostly hand-sewn in rolled bandages and surgical dressings to ship overseas. At least a dozen members of the Women's Club served in active duty during World War II in the Women Accepted for Voluntary Emergency Service Program, the Women Air Force Service Pilots, the Marine Corps, and the Navy. Over the years, the Women's Club has held fundraisers for many military service organizations, including sewing linings into military jackets for the American Red Cross, the Civilian Defense Council, the Navy Center, and the Service Men's Center. We recently held a fundraiser for children with parents serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. Today, our original mission of education, civic, and social services continues. In addition to our many outreach activities, the club each year gives scholarship monies and grants that benefit women and children. Over the years, we have given over $5 million. Thank you, and welcome again.
Thank you, Don. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party, the posting of the colors being performed by the 133rd Airlift Wing Color Guard. The national anthem will be performed by Master Sergeant Carly Teagues and Tech Sergeant Ryan Ringwelski, and the invocation, which will be delivered by the 133rd Airlift Wing Chaplain, Father John Eckert. Color guard, post.
Forward, park. see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. Lord of the air forces in the heaven above and the army hosts on earth below, we invoke your divine presence and blessings on this joyous occasion that breaks new ground yet remains rooted in military tradition. In your divine providence, you entrust each of us with talents and opportunities to be put to good service. Colonel Sandy Best has been a faithful steward of these gifts and has shown herself to be deserving of promotion to the rank of Brigadier General. Bless her with the graces that go with her new office and guide her with the manifold gifts of your Holy Spirit. May she know of our gratitude for her service before self and our continued commitment to the call to duty of our state and nation. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Master Sergeant Teagues and Tech Sergeant Ringwelski, for that beautiful rendition of our national anthem, and Father Eckert for the heartfelt invocation. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Before we begin this afternoon's promotion ceremony, I am pleased to acknowledge the distinguished members of the audience that are in attendance with us today. First, our official party, the Governor of Minnesota, Governor Mark Dayton, the Adjutant General of Minnesota, Major General Rick Nash, the Chief of Staff, Minnesota Air National Guard, Colonel Promotable Sandy Best, the State Command Chief Master Sergeant Gary Luke, the 133rd Airlift Wing Chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel John Eckert, the Joint Force Headquarters Chaplain, Major Buddy Wynn. Welcome to the following general officers that are present this afternoon. Major General Neil Lloydell, Commanding General, 34th Infantry Division. Brigadier General John Jensen, Director of the Joint Staff and Deputy Commanding General of United States Army, Africa. Brigadier General David Hamler, Assistant Adjutant General, Minnesota Air National Guard. Brigadier General Bill Leader, Deputy Commanding General for the 34th Infantry Division. Welcome to the following retired general officers that are present this afternoon. Major General Larry Shelito, Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. Major General Harry Sieben, Minnesota Civilian Aide to the Secretary of the Army. Major General John Trost, Brigadier General Bob Caton, Brigadier General Tim Casalter, and finally, Colonel Beth's immediate family. Colonel Beth's husband, Steve, her daughter, Lieutenant Colonel Michelle Drost, accompanied by her husband, Chris, her daughter, Brianna, her daughter, Amanda, her grandsons, Christian and Noah, her mother-in-law, Gladys Best, her Uncle Jim and Aunt Joanne Lukart. Welcome to all the distinguished guests, elected officials, general officers, and retired general officers, commanders, officers, chief master sergeants, command sergeants major, retirees, airmen and soldiers of the Minnesota National Guard, colleagues, friends, and extended family in attendance today. And on behalf of Colonel Best and her family, thank you for attending this momentous event. Today, Colonel Sandy Best will assume the responsibilities as a Brigadier General in the Minnesota Air National Guard. Originally from Northeast Minneapolis, Colonel Best joined the 133rd Airlift Wing, Minnesota Air National Guard in 1984 as a personnel specialist and progressed through the enlisted ranks to technical sergeant. Colonel Best was commissioned in 1991 through the Academy of Military Science at Miggy Tyson Air National Guard Base, Tennessee. During her military career, Colonel Best has commanded at both the squadron and group level. She has served in numerous roles to include Military Equal Opportunity Officer, Military Personnel Management Officer, Lead Planner, and Logistics Operations Officer. Among her awards are the Meritorious Service Medal with 4 oak leaf clusters, Joint Service Commendation Medal, Air Force Commendation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, and the Joint Service Achievement Medal. Colonel Best has been recently selected and currently serves as the Chief of Staff, Minnesota Air National Guard. She is responsible for command supervision, oversight, and leadership of the 133rd Airlift Wing and 148th Fighter Wing to include all items pertaining to manning, operations, readiness, training and equipping of units in the Minnesota Air National Guard. She serves as the principal advisor to the Adjutant General on a broad range of matters concerning the Air National Guard to include logistics, information systems, manpower and personnel, public affairs, recruiting and retention, civil engineering, medical, state emergency response, diversity, family, and employer support. Ladies and gentlemen, the Adjutant General of the Minnesota National Guard, Major General Rick Nash.
Nice job. Well, thank you. Thanks. Good afternoon to all of our elected officials that are in the audience this afternoon. Governor Dayton, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here, as well as the Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith, and the Chief of Staff for the Governor, Chief of Staff Jamie Tinchner, and to State Auditor Otto, to Commissioners Dolman, Commissioners Lindsay, Commissioners Bowerly, Commissioner Shelito, and Representative Detmer, and to the general officers that are in attendance, Generals Lloydel, Jensen, Hamler, Hasse, and Leader. Thanks for being here, and to our retired general officers who've already been mentioned, General Trost, Major General Sieben, Brigadier General Casalter, and Brigadier General Caton and his spouse. Also, I'd like to recognize Colonel Jim Johnson, the commander of the 133rd Airlift Wing here in Minneapolis, Colonel John Safstrom from the 148th Fighter Wing in Duluth, Command Sergeant Major Wortham, Command Chief Luke, Command Chief Kessler, Command Chief Rukavina. Also in the audience with us today are representatives from Congressman Ellison's office, Mike Siebenauer, as well as from Congressman John Klein's office, Chaz Johnson. So welcome. Also, I would be remiss if I did not recognize members of our Strategic Advisory Task Force, sort of the civilian board of directors that assists the senior leaders in Minnesota with issues that we face, to include Carolyn Parnell, Dr. Earl Potter, president of St. Cloud University, former Secretary of State Mark Ritchie, Mr. Don Shelby, I think everyone knows Don, and Mr. Steve Turek from Marvin Windows. To Steve, to Lieutenant Colonel Michelle Drost and husband Chris, to Christian and Noah, who are sitting here doing devices and cameras and Facebooking and tweeting, Brianna and Amanda, to Gladys, to Jim and Aunt Joanne, to our retirees and to our veterans, to our distinguished guests and other family members, to our friends, to all the airmen that are here today, to our soldiers, and finally, ladies and gentlemen. The elevation of Colonel Sandy Best to Brigadier General certainly underscores her ability to lead at the highest level and signifies the trust that the United States Air Force and I have in her to help lead the Minnesota National Guard into the future. Thanks to the Women's Club of Minneapolis for providing such an incredible venue for this promotion, and there should be no better fitting location to do this than when we promote the first woman to Brigadier General in the state of Minnesota. I once then told Lieutenant Colonel Best that I would consider promoting her to Colonel if they ever built a new bridge across the St. Croix River. Thinking that that would never happen in my lifetime. And since you might know, most of you know, that she commutes from Wisconsin every day. Well, there's the bridge being built, and I promoted her to Colonel not too long ago. Then I told her that if the Vikings ever beat the Packers at Lambeau Field for the NFC North Division Championship, I would consider promoting her to Brigadier General. Well, they did, and I'm making good on that commitment. But now here's your next channel, Colonel Best. When the Vikings win the Super Bowl, you're going to have a great opportunity to be the next Adjutant General. Now there's a true challenge for a Packer fan such as yourself and Steve. General Best, as you've heard, has held command positions in the Minnesota Air National Guard leading up to her well-deserved promotion today. And I've witnessed, as many other senior leaders have in the state of Minnesota, firsthand her talent, her commitment, and her accomplishments. After serving as a personal specialist as an enlisted airman, General Best received her commission, as was stated, in 1991 through the Academy of Military Science at McGee-Tyson Air Force Base. And prior to being named to her current position as the Chief of Staff of the Minnesota Air National Guard, General Best commanded and led airmen in challenging roles as the commander of the 133rd Logistics Readiness Squadron, and most recently as the commander of the 133rd Mission Support Group. During her assignments, she continued to simultaneously advance her military education, attending the Squadron Officer School and the United States Air War College. She also tended to her civilian education, earning a Bachelor of Arts from Metropolitan State University, where Commissioner Dolman was the recent Alumni of the Year, a Master's of Business Administration from St. Thomas University, and earning a Policy Fellowship at the University of Minnesota Humphrey School of Public Affairs. Brigadier General Best has great leadership talent and a sincere passion for our airmen and a concern for their families and their employers. She took on a challenging combat assignment, serving as the Force Rotation Chief for the Combined Joint Task Force 101 in Bagram, Afghanistan in 2008 and 2009. I selected General Best to serve the Minnesota National Guard as the Director of Government Relations in 2011. And I can tell you that her performance yielded tremendous results, and all of us have benefited from the relationship that she has built with our entire congressional delegation and their staffs. In her position, she was responsible for being our primary liaison with our federal delegation, both in D.C. and in the state of Minnesota and her districts, and she performed magnificently. We expanded her role as the Director of Strategic Relations for the Minnesota National Guard in 2014. As the incoming Chief of Staff for the Air National Guard, General Best, as the first female general officer in the history of the Minnesota National Guard, joins a long list of firsts. Recently, we promoted our first African-American general officer, our first African-American male colonel, our first African-American female colonel, the first ever female senior enlisted advisor, the first female chief information officer, the first female Army Brigade commander, the first female staff judge advocate general counsel, and so many more female leaders who are in our formations today. I'm going out on a limb here, Governor, but I believe we are about an election away of having our first woman governor. And General Best, I'm pleased to inform you that these women were selected for the same reason that you are now being promoted. They were the best candidates for the available assignment, and I've never been disappointed in any of our selections. In fact, since 2011, the Minnesota National Guard has raised the total number of women serving in our ranks from 16.2% to 18%, and that number continues to grow every day. This increase reflects the importance of promoting great, talented, and qualified female candidates such as General Best and the other notable leaders I previously mentioned. They all nurture personal and professional development, increase resiliency, and promote retention, inclusion, and diversity. General Best, this promotion to the rank of general is personal, but it's not about you personally. It's about how you will use your rank and position to assist those that need the voice, the experience, the maturity, the dedication, and more importantly, the heart of a general. There's a common phrase that's been used in Minnesota's National Guard for many years, and that is, our soldiers and airmen don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. To the heart, to help soldiers and airmen achieve their aspirations, their dreams, their career goals, when no one else at a lower rank can do that. General Best has shown me and the other senior military people in Minnesota, in the military, in our state, and our federal government, that she is passionate, inspiring, intelligent, decisive, persuasive, and always optimistic, which are all attributes of a visionary leader. She's team-oriented, respectful, adaptive, compassionate, supportive, and engaged in the matters that matter. General Best also is very honest in word and action. She's confident and humble, but not timid, and has a great moral compass, proud but not arrogant, and a tremendous hard worker with a purpose. She has our complete trust, which above all is the most important aspect to me. But she also has the 5 C's of leadership, which I look for in an individual leader. And that is the courage, both moral and physical, the candor, the confidence, the commitment, and the competence. General Best, congratulations on your monumental achievement, which you have undoubtedly earned. And I'm looking forward to working with you in the years ahead as we shape the future for our great airmen and soldiers. To Steve and Michelle, to Chris and Christian, Noah, Brianna, Amanda, and Gladys, thank you for your support that has made this day possible. To reach this very senior position in the military takes a family that has sacrificed in so many ways for so many years, and not minding when growing up and your friends probably chided you that your mom wears combat boots. And to all the men and women of the Minnesota National Guard, you have the respect and the appreciation of all Americans for what you do to protect our communities, our state, and our nation. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce our Commander-in-Chief of the Minnesota National Guard, Governor Dayton. While speaking to the Minnesota Business Partnership on October 8th, 2015, he asked business leaders to do what he is doing in our state. And that is, and I quote, "Diversity and inclusion are his top priority. The face of Minnesota's workers is changing, and Minnesota needs to create conditions where everyone has the opportunities and the resources to shine." Governor, today, General Best is our shining example of your vision. All of us in your administration are working to achieve your challenge. Mark Dayton is no stranger to the Minnesota National Guard. When he served as our U.S. Senator and served on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Dayton was instrumental in keeping the Duluth Air Base from being closed. He used those abilities that he has to do what was right for Minnesota. He made multiple trips to war zones, to Iraq and Afghanistan, meeting with our soldiers and our airmen. Additionally, he co-sponsored legislation providing the first federal funding for the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon program to help reintegrate our returning veterans. Our nation now enjoys the fruits of those efforts, as it is now a national program having to serve all services across our entire nation. As our governor, he has shown great support of all service members and their families in Minnesota, not just the National Guard. He has taken the time to understand the capabilities and the strengths of our organization, and as a member of the 10 governors on the Council of Governors, he is a voice for our nation's National Guard with the Department of Defense, the Chief of Staff of the Army, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, Homeland Security, Department of Justice, and the White House. Based in part because he has visited our services in combat, Governor Dayton has taken the time to truly understand the capabilities and the strengths of those that serve in uniform and the challenges that they have and their families and their employers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander-in-Chief of the Minnesota National Guard, Governor Mark Dayton.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, General Nash, and thank you for your superb leadership to the Minnesota National Guard. You've pioneered so many important areas, and the diversity that you just described, the opening of opportunities for people who previously were denied those, is just one of the many tributes to your outstanding leadership. So thank you very much. I have vivid memories of this building going back now almost 60 years. In 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, I went to dancing school here. It's where I first learned to become terrified of girls who were not my sisters. But it is an appropriate setting for this momentous event. General Best, you're well named. You are the best, and you're leading the best Air National Guard anywhere in the United States. And to all of you who do serve us in the Guard, we owe you a debt of enormous gratitude for your patriotism, for your heroism, for your willingness to serve again and again in foreign lands and in foreign airspace. And you've just done an outstanding job, as evidenced by the immediate aftermath of 9/11, when you were called upon to protect the Washington, D.C. area, our nation's most vital area. It was entrusted to Minnesota Air National Guard. I had my one direct contact with the Guard. Maybe you can remedy this, General, give me more opportunities. But after I helped get the next generation of the F-16 fighter planes for the Duluth base, they took me up in one of the existing ones with a two-seater, and the fourth time we hit 5 Gs, I strangled into the intercom as the blood was coming out of my toenails. No more Gs! And when we landed, the media, all the TV cameras were trained on me just to see if I was going to do a header down the. And I said, now I know why they don't send overweight, out of shape 55-year-old men up to defend the country, because they're in big trouble. But it gave me even further respect for the kind of fitness, the kind of training, the kind of challenges that you must face and must master to serve our state and serve our nation. And you really are, General, you really are the best. You have worked your way up from the very beginning, 32 years, my math's correct, that just through your own excellence, through your own hard work, through a most phenomenal postgraduate programs, both formal degree as well as advanced training in the military and management and leadership, you just have prepared yourself for assuming these enormous responsibilities. And you epitomize what is so extraordinary about the Guard in Minnesota, that commitment to excellence, the commitment to talent. And again, General Nash, for you to recognize that, encourage that, and promote that, despite the problems with the Packers and the Vikings, is really a great tribute to you. So, Colonel Best, soon to become General Best, I congratulate you, I salute you, and we thank you for your dedicated service.
Thank you for those inspiring remarks. At this time, I invite Governor Mark Dayton, Major General Nash, and Colonel Best forward for the reading of the official order and the pinning of the general officer rank. Military members, attention to orders. Civilian members, please rise. Department of the Army and Air Force, order number GOM 0321601, dated 1 February 2016. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, honor, and fidelity of Colonel Sandra L. Best. In view of these qualities and demonstrated leadership potential, as well as dedicated service to the United States Air Force, Colonel Sandra L. Best is promoted to Brigadier General with the date of rank of 1 February 2016 by order of the Secretaries of the Army and Air Force, signed Frank J. Grass, General, United States Army, Chief, National Guard Bureau. Congratulations, General Best. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Governor Dayton will now affirm today's pinning and administer the oath of office to Brigadier General Best.
Repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Brigadier General Sandy Best, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the Governor of the State of Minnesota,
that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the Governor of the State of Minnesota,
that I make this obligation freely,
that I make this obligation freely,
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Brigadier General in the Air National Guard of the State of Minnesota,
the duties of Brigadier General in the Office of the Minnesota Air National Guard in the State of Minnesota,
upon which I am about to enter, so help me God.
upon which I am about to enter, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Governor Dayton. Major General Nash will be joined by Command Chief Master Sergeant Luke for the presentation for Brigadier General Best's one-star flag, belt, and pistol. Brigadier General Best has selected Chief Master Sergeant Retired Steve Campos to bring forward her one-star flag. She has served with Chief Campos in a variety of positions at the Wing and Joint Force Headquarters. Even though Chief Master Sergeant Campos is retired, he continues to serve the Minnesota National Guard and veteran community, promoting care of our service members, their families, diversity, and inclusion. In the United States military, general officers are authorized to display their own command flags in the rank of 07 and above. In the Air Force, these flags are authorized for display in the headquarters in which the general officer serves. Brigadier General Best is now eligible to display her flag to symbolize her greater rank and responsibility. Brigadier General Best is authorized to display her flag when she is the senior officer present. With the issue of pistols to generals, the need quickly arose for a holster and pistol belt to accommodate them. The belts and holsters became a badge of rank, as did the firearms they housed. Brigadier General Best has selected Chief Master Sergeant Kristen von Eschen to bring forward her distinctive ceremonial belt. She has served with Chief von Eschen since 2005 during their years in the Logistics Readiness Squadron and have continued through to present, where she serves as a Human Resource Advisor for the 133rd Airlift Wing. General officers are entitled to a distinctive pistol. Since the beginning of the American Army in 1776, officers, including generals, were required to furnish their own sidearms and long arms. Brigadier General Best has selected Chief Master Sergeant Bill Cordell to bring forward her distinctive pistol. She has served with Chief Cordell since they both entered the Minnesota Air National Guard in 1984, which has fostered over a 32-year friendship. Times change, as did warfare, and the way wars were fought. By World War II, generals no longer sat on horses watching the battle progress. To be an effective and successful general, they were required to move around and stay with the flow of the battle. Often, the line between Allied and Axis forces was thin and at times obscure. All of this called for a change in the general's code of dress. The practice of issuing pistols to brigadier generals began in 1943. Congratulations, Brigadier General Best, on the occasion of being honored with the accoutrements that acknowledge your responsibilities as a general officer in the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you the first female general in the Minnesota Air National Guard, Brigadier General Sandy Best.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. I am so honored by your presence. Governor Dayton, thank you so much for taking time out of your demanding schedule to be here. Additionally, I recognize Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith and Chief of Staff Jamie Tincher from Governor Dayton's office. Thank you for being here to support me. Major General Nash, I'm grateful for this promotion to Brigadier General. Thank you for your trust and confidence in my ability to assume greater responsibility. I will not let you down and pledge continued unwavering service to Minnesota and our nation. Secretary Ritchie, Strategic Advisory Task Force members, commissioners, state auditors, state legislators, state and community leaders, I'm very touched by your attendance. Major General Neil Lloydalt and Brigadier General Bob Caton, retired, your mentorship, inspiration, support, and friendship have contributed more than you will ever know. Thank you. Brigadier General Hamler and Brigadier General Jensen, I appreciate your ongoing support and look forward to our successful alliance, leading to the continued advancement of our shared Minnesota National Guard priorities. Colonels Jim Johnson, John Safstrom, Lauren Hubert, and Mark Vavra, I value your judgment, experience, dedication, and friendship. I am confident under your leadership, both wings will continue to hold their place as the preeminent wings in the Air National Guard. Don Kerr, thank you for your service, your positive influence, and partnership for the past 5 years. I value your friendship, insight, and counsel. Chief Luke, Chief Kessler, Chief Rukavina, Command Sergeant Major Wortham, Chiefs, and Sergeants Major, thank you for your wise counsel and taking care of our most treasured weapon system in our arsenal, our airmen and our soldiers. I'm here to support your work to ensure the health of our force. General Leader, retired Generals Sieben, Shellito, Trost, Cassalter, and other retirees, thank you for your friendship and supporting me through your attendance. I have your contact information, and from time to time, I may look to you for advice and insight. Thank you in advance. I am also honored by the attendance from my friends from my alma mater, Metropolitan State University, to include President Devinder Malhotra and Provost Executive Vice President Ginny Arthur. I am also pleased you are here. To the military women who went before me, some here today, you've made it easier for every one of us who has followed. To my Army friends and colleagues, thank you for embracing me and supporting me as one of your own. To the exceptional men and women of the Minnesota Air National Guard, having served first as enlisted, then commissioned for a total now of 32 years, I have grown up with many of you. You are my bedrock, my foundation, and a real source of joy. Everything is attainable with your support. I am thankful for all of you. All military members know that the force behind the force is the steadfast love and support of family and friends. My family, you have shared my journey. We share this promotion also. Congratulations. My dear friends, each and every one of you add fun and excitement and spirit to my life. You provide those breaks of routine necessary to keep me sane. Thank you. And finally, a spirited thank you to members of the 34th Infantry Division Band, Master Sergeant Teagues and Tech Sergeant Ringwalski for a beautiful rendition of our Star-Spangled Banner, members of the Color Guard, the staff of the Women's Club, the Cretin-Durham Hall Junior ROTC Cadets, Chief Master Sergeant Retired Dave Caldron for reception background music, Lieutenant Colonel Barb Pasternak for emceeing this ceremony, Public Affairs staff, Senior Master Sergeant Karoon, Diane Busta, and team for event coordination. Today marks the beginning of another chapter in my military career. I enlisted in the Minnesota National Guard February 7th, 1984. I was commissioned on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1991. And here we are, February 25th, 2016. It appears February is my month. The past few weeks, I have found myself reflecting on my military journey through the years with the Guard. So many rich and vivid memories. I remember my first drill out at the 133rd Airlift Wing. It was a cold, windy, snowy February day. I was nervous, driving an old beater car with bald tires, slipping and sliding all the way to base. I made it through the front gate and then ended up sliding into the ditch directly in front of the building that I'd be working in. It was not the entrance I envisioned for the beginning of my military career. I remember a long ago December winter operational inspection at Volk Field, Wisconsin, after a year of multiple exercises and extensive preparation. I was wearing my flak vest over cold weather attire, loaded down with mobility gear, in-flight lunch, and baggage. As I exited the C-130 through the crew door and down the steps, I tripped and landed flat on my stomach on the frozen tarmac. My mobility gear and in-flight lunch exploded all over the flight line. I still have a vivid mental picture of that bright red apple bouncing its way under the aircraft. Nonetheless, the airmen around me picked me up, dusted me off, and helped me gather my belongings, and we all had a good laugh. It's funny how these somewhat harmless mishaps rose to the surface after all these years to poke yet again at my ego and remind me that with this promotion, I need to remain humble. I fondly recall my commissioning along with Colonel Scott Chambers and Colonel retired Dion Ford at McGee-Tyson Air National Guard Base, Tennessee. In addition to our families, Brigadier General Kazak and other state leaders made the trip to attend the commissioning ceremony, which graduated 5 Minnesota Air National Guard second lieutenants. I was humbled to think a general would take time out of his busy schedule to attend our ceremony. My Uncle Jim and Aunt Joanne were there and are here also today. I recall Uncle Jim saying he saw more brass at that single commissioning event than he saw in his entire military career. I treasure my memories of my first command, 133rd Logistics Readiness Squadron, which was blessed with so many dedicated and just plain awesome airmen, culminating in recognition of the best logistics readiness squadron in the Air National Guard. I was also privileged to command the 133rd Mission Support Group. I relinquished that command this past week and will treasure equally the honor of serving with the exemplary men and women of the Mission Support Group and the 133rd Airlift Wing. I reflected on the changes that decades have brought the Guard. Likely the biggest catalyst was the advent of the computer. Yes, I do remember the days as a personnel specialist in what is now the Force Support Squadron, pounding away on an IBM Selectric with an ever-ready bottle of whiteout. Young folks, take it from me, computers are way better. But it occurred to me that over the decades, 2 things remain static. One is the unique dual status mission of the Minnesota National Guard, both state and federal. And the other is the character of the extraordinary people who have and continue to serve. I warmly recall the wonderful people I have served with. The Guard has always and continues to be blessed with inspirational, courageous, and intelligent leaders. The Army and Air have always and continue to be populated by selfless, determined, heroic airmen and soldiers who understand the vital role they play in mission accomplishment, are prepared to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve the mission, and remain continuously alert and ready for the call to arms. Truly, the Guard's most valuable assets are its members. So enough reminiscing. With this promotion, success will require forward thinking, bold and reasoned determination, stewardship of resources, and always essential teamwork for us to remain ready and relevant. In addition to the responsibilities I will shoulder as a Brigadier General, I will also remember those who lifted me up and continue to pay it forward. I will do my best to inspire, lead, encourage, support, and develop those around me. Governor Dayton and Major General Nash have long championed the advancement of diversity in all aspects of professional and personal avocations, and they continue to realize success in this regard. I will continue my efforts to support their emphasis on embracing diversity and work towards a day when the faces of the Minnesota National Guard reflect the faces of the Minnesota's population in general. Additionally, Governor Dayton, I will work diligently to effect your better government priorities in support of Major General Nash. And finally, from Luke 12:48, from everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. I fully recognize that as a flag officer, I have been entrusted with much. I am honored and I accept it as my charge to boldly, judiciously and generously execute my responsibility in the best interest of the Minnesota National Guard, Minnesota, and our nation. Thank you for your attendance today and your ongoing support.
Thank you, General Best. Chaplain Buddy Wynn will now deliver the benediction.
Receive the benediction. Lord, dismiss us today with your blessing. And we offer thanks for the opportunity to gather, to affirm our identity and celebrate our common hope. Increase today, Lord, our resolve to cherish each person, young or old, male or female, with the love that you have demonstrated. Let our conversation this afternoon continue to impact our thinking in ways which are pleasing in your sight. And may we live in harmony with you and one another for the glory of your name and to the edification of women and men everywhere. To you, Lord, be the glory and the honor now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Wynn. Please stand and remain standing for the singing of the Air Force song. For your convenience, the words are printed on the back of your program. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the retiring of the colors. Color guard, post.
Forward, hard. Colors, turn, hard.
Ladies and gentlemen, remain standing as the official party departs. thank the 34th Infantry Division Band for the beautiful music provided today. Thank you for attending the promotion ceremony for Brigadier General Bess. This concludes our ceremony. There will be a formal receiving line upstairs in the reception area. Please make your way upstairs to the 4th floor for the reception. Thank you.